Fifth grade, welcome to language class, lesson 145 today. First of all, this morning we're going to go over what we talked about yesterday, how we have words that are easily confused with each other because they mean closely to the same thing, but not exactly the same thing. Let's just go over those a little bit before we get into today's lesson. First of all, we have amount and number. We use amount when we cannot count the things that we are talking about. We use number when we can specifically count them. Between and among, we use between when we are talking about only two people or things. Among is used when we are talking about more than two people or things. Can, we use can when we are referring to something that we have the ability to do. May is when we have the permission to do something. We use less again when we are referring to something that we cannot count. And we use fewer when we are dealing with objects that we can count. Okay? You're going to do a bit of work with these words in your lesson today. You will also be making some sentences with some of them. Part of your lesson is working with making words plural. So remember your rules for plural, for making words plural. And our new concept for today is we're talking about the thesaurus. What is a thesaurus? Now, I don't know if you have one with you. If you have one in your house, you can grab it. That'd be great. But if not, they give an example of a page in a thesaurus in your book. So we can just look at that to refer to what we are talking about. But we've talked about a dictionary and how a dictionary gives us the definition, the pronunciation, the syllabication, and example sentences with words of so many words in the English language. But what is a thesaurus? And what is the point of a thesaurus? How does it help us? So a thesaurus, if you have a word that you want to use in your writing, or maybe more specifically, you know what you mean. You know what you want to say, but you don't know what word you want to use. Maybe you want to say that this room is sloppy. So you can look in the thesaurus. Maybe you want to say that something is sloppy, but you don't want to use the word sloppy. In the thesaurus, it gives synonyms and antonyms of words. So if you know what meaning you want to use, you can look up the word sloppy, and they will give you many examples of other words that mean a lot the same thing as sloppy, but it's a different word. Or if you want the opposite of sloppy, they will give antonyms. So you can look up the word sloppy and find antonyms and choose one of those to use. A thesaurus lists synonyms and antonyms of words. Remember, a synonym is a word that means the same or nearly the same thing as another word. An antonym is a word that means the opposite of another word. Turn to page 264. Look at the example of the thesaurus that they give you in your lesson. Now, when you have a word, let's say we're looking at the word sloppy on this thesaurus page. Now, you could be talking about a few different things with talking about the word sloppy. You could be talking about how the weather is sloppy. You could be talking about how a room is sloppy. Or you could be talking about how someone did a sloppy job for you. Now, depending on which meaning you're talking about, it's going to vary which word you actually want to use. So if you look on the thesaurus page at the word sloppy, and they give number 1, they give examples of sloppy when you're talking about sloppy weather. Number 2, they give examples of sloppy if you're talking about how someone did their work. Number 3, they give examples of sloppy if you are talking about, okay, I'm getting lost here. Number 3, okay, so the first one, if you're talking about sloppy weather, that's number 1. If you're talking about a sloppy room or person, that's number 2. If you're talking about how someone did their work, that's number 3. They give you examples for each kind depending on what you're talking about. Okay? So look at like number 1, number 2, number 3 in the examples of the words you're looking at. to see what exact meaning you want to use. Remember, it's important to be as specific as possible. So think about what meaning you want to portray and then choose the word according to that. That is all for our lesson for today. As far as your homework for today, you will be staying on pages 262 and just on page 262, I believe. Go ahead and read over page 263 and 264. Let me know if you have any questions, and I will talk to you later. Have a good rest of your day.